Hello and welcome back. Today's review, we're taking a look at the Kratos, also dubbed the Beaded Luna, Paul McBeth's newest putter in his personal lineup with Discraft. Now for the flight numbers, the Kratos comes in at a speed 3, glide 3, turn 0, and a fade of 3. Which coincidentally is the same flight numbers of the Luna when it was first released. We'll have to see if the Kratos can finally live up to those numbers. So just like the Luna, the Kratos has a very blunt nose, a decently high shoulder, but still feels pretty shallow in the hand because it does have that flat flight plate. Though I will say the premium plastics like the Jawbreaker Z-Flex and the Crystal Sparkle, they are almost identical, and then when it comes to say the special blend or the rubber blend, those are going to have a shallower feel as the shoulder just doesn't seem to be quite as prominent on those, so they do actually feel shallower, which gives them an amazing feel for putting. For throwing though, I have to say I do like the extra depth that both this Jawbreaker Z-Flex and the Crystal Sparkle have. And when it comes to flexibility, these Jawbreaker Z-Flexes, they definitely have some flexibility to them, just like the Crystal Sparkle, but not too bad. They're not like extremely gummy, so they're not gonna like melt in your hand. So even on hot days, they are gonna hold up pretty well. Okay, now to answer that all-important question, how does the Kratos fly? And also for those of you looking for a comparison to the Luna, there will be a slight comparison a little bit later on in the video. But for the Kratos, when you throw it on a hyzer, that's what it's going to do. You're not going to get any kind of flip up. It's going to hold that hyzer all the way. Say when thrown flat, it is going to go very straight, but then kind of have a nice arcing finish at the end. It's not an extremely hard dump, say like a zone, but it does have a pretty strong finish at the end of its flight. And then once you do start getting it on an anhyzer line, it's going to start holding that anhyzer. It's not going to like turn over, but it is going to hold that anhyzer line just until it starts to slow down before it'll have a pretty gentle finish. So again, I don't necessarily agree that the fade is a 3 when it comes to the Kratos. Probably, I'd say closer to like a 1.5, maybe a 2 at best. So it's not exactly going to be a great putter when it comes to, say, flexing around an object where you're going to start on an anhyzer line and then get it to get around an obstacle and then fight itself back. It's not going to be the best at doing that unless you're throwing it at very low speeds and very high. Instead, the thing that really impressed me is how torque resistant it is. It can handle power. It's going to resist turning over, and then just again have a nice predictable finish. So for big throwers who want a putter that they can rip into and go very, very straight on a calm day with a gentle finish, those are the players that are really going to enjoy the Kratos. And with that added torque resistance means that the Kratos is going to be better for forehand. Now I'm not going to throw full power forehands with the Kratos, but at least 50-75% touch shots, the Kratos does handle those very well. Alright, so we've seen it now in a wide open field, but how does the Kratos fare on actual disc golf holes? Well, we're going to start out pretty simple. This is a wide open shot, a little bit of trouble on the left-hand side with that tree. However, being a lefty, I mean, it doesn't matter. Lefty, righty, this is a very open hole. With the Kratos, I'm just going to toss it out straight, a little bit high, let that stability kind of kick in. And again, it doesn't have that hard dump, but still has a decent forward finish. For this next hole, you do have trees on the right and left-hand side, and then also about 40 feet short of the basket, you do have a slight gap that you have to hit, but not a terribly long hole, so just throw slight anhyzer. Know that it's not going to turn over, it's going to ride very straight, and then just have that nice little finish towards the basket. This is a much more extreme tunnel shot. You have a lot of danger on the left and right-hand side. You have to hit that tunnel. I'm going to start the Kratos on just a bit of an anhyzer, let it hold straight through that tunnel before it levels itself out and then comes back just towards the very end to the basket. Next, we have a tightly wooded fairway with a dogleg to the left, perfect for righty backhand or lefty forehand. I mentioned the extra torque resistance of the Kratos. Well, that is where I would take advantage of it here and throw the Kratos on a forehand. It is going to get a nice flip up, maybe just depending on how much power you put into it, a little bit of turn in that mid-flight, but it's going to try to level itself out and then fight back. So we've seen the Kratos throwing, but how about putting? Well, for me, inside the circle up to about circle's edge, it is pretty straight, but once I start getting beyond the circle, I start to notice a pretty significant dump at the end of its flight. Also, because of that bead at the bottom, it just keeps, every time I putt, it clips my pinky upon release, making my putts extremely wobbly. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's affecting the flight, it just doesn't make it look very pretty. Now when it comes to the plastic types, it's a very new disc, but it still comes out in that special blend swirl, the crystal sparkle that were released earlier, the Jawbreaker Z Flex that you've been seeing in this video, and then you have both the prototypes and the first runs, which are coming out in that standard rubber blend. So when it comes to the different plastics, the Crystal Sparkle is a little bit floatier than the Jawbreaker Z Flex. The Jawbreaker Z Flex just likes to kind of fall out of the sky and then just kind of sit wherever it hits. The Crystal Sparkle is going to be floatier. I think just seems like it's going to have a little bit more overstability to it just because it's not just coming straight to the ground. So the Crystal Sparkle will definitely go a little bit further and seem a little bit more overstable. If you want something straighter and more workable out of the box, so you can put on a few different lines, and also something that's going to bead in very quickly, then that Special Blend Swirl or the rubber blends are probably going to be the ones you want to go for. Alright, so how does the Kratos differ from the Luna? Well, the obvious. Kratos, it has a bead. Luna, it's beadless. When it comes to the profile, they both share the same top. Top half of the disc exactly the same. The bottom half, that's where it gets interesting. If you look closely at the Luna, the bottom of the nose is actually a lot more rounded, versus the Kratos has a very noticeable harsher bump or lip at the bottom of the nose. While the Luna again just has a smoother, much more rounded bottom. Okay, let's go ahead, take a look at some Lefty lines with the different plastic types of the Kratos and also a couple of the Luna. First, the Jawbreaker Z Flex Kratos, it is straight at the start and then about 2/3 of the way through the flight. It does like to have that nice hyzer, but then it just kind of falls out of the sky, not nearly as much glide. While the Kratos in baseline is going to get a little bit of drift in the mid-flight, but then still is stable up and have a decent finish at the very end, the Crystal Sparkle is going to go further than the Jawbreaker Z Flex. Since it is a little bit floatier and kind of stays up in the air, I think that's why it has an illusion of being a little bit more overstable. For the Luna, I was throwing a 2020 Tour Series, which was a pretty stable run of the Luna overall, and then also a baseline Jawbreaker, and honestly, between the Kratos and the Luna just doesn't have as much torque resistance as the Kratos. Even the 2020 that I have, it has good torque resistance, but it's not like the Kratos that I can start on an Anheuser line and have it level itself out pretty quickly. The Tour Series Luna, I throw it flat and it just goes perfectly straight, and then just a little baby hyzer at the end. And then the Jawbreaker Luna, I mean, it starts out straight, but then it just gets in the mid-flight, this drift, and it just keeps drifting. It just never really wanted to fight back. Alright, that is everything I have for you guys. I hope you all enjoyed this video about the new Kratos. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, that way you don't miss out on any new future disc review videos. And also, make sure to smash that like button, get those YouTube algorithms going. And if you want to try the Kratos for yourself, be sure, visit GreatLakesDisc.com, use that code LEFTY at checkout. That way you're going to be helping the channel and you're going to save yourself 10%. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all so much for the support. Till the next one, keep banging chains.